and welcome back to the LEC as it is match point in the grand finals today. And I have Lucy, scout analyst for G2, here to talk about this series. Thank you very much for joining me for a long-awaited interview for the community, I guess.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Laure. It's a pleasure.
You're welcome, you're welcome. I mean, we heard so many good things about you coming from Duffman, but I want to know more about your work, especially coming in today against Fnatic, because I talked to Hyli before the series, and I mentioned that, I mean, Fnatic and G2, they know each other so well. It must be so hard to prepare against each other, actually. So tell me about your prep and the work you've did today with the team to be ready.
I kind of agree with what Hyli said in that Fnatic and G2 know each other so well as players that it's actually kind of hard for me to show them anything new. So for me, it's just a lot of just reiterating the same points that the players already know, but they may have forgotten about, and just making sure that we encourage the same fundamentals and just kind of a reminder before they go on stage so that they don't, I was going to say throw, but we've seen a couple of near throws today. But yeah, just trying to make the games as clean as possible because like Hyli said, and I'm sure all the players agree, that they know each other the best and they're their own experts in that sense.
Yeah. I mean, let's dive into it directly, actually, with the draft from Game 2. I have it with the pick orders, and I want to pick your brain on the Zilean pick. When you saw, first, did you expect the Zilean pick from Fnatic? And second, did you think it will go top lane?
No, I don't think any of us expected the Zilean. I guess maybe because NA played it yesterday, there was a slight chance of them playing it, just like there was a slight chance of us picking the Shen jungle, which we did in the first game. However, we can't say that we have had more practice against Zilean. It's only a new pick that has come to EU. And I think in this situation, I would not have guessed it to go top lane. I would have guessed it to go in the mid lane. I couldn't imagine Hyli playing it, but I could have seen it, Nemesis playing it for sure.
All right. See, when you mentioned the LCS, the fact that we now copy the LCS on work worries me a bit. But I mean, that's another topic. But I want to follow up on the Lulu here. I was intrigued because I saw this pick in the LPL by doing B actually, but we know that he's a master of Lulu mid lane. So did you plan on sending this pick support when you saw the Pyke, for instance, or was it a flex pick?
No, I think Lulu is predominantly a support pick, at least for us, or perhaps in EU. We haven't, again, seen it in EU. I think Ashe Lulu is actually a pretty good 2v2, or it's at least a pretty safe 2v2. And the Lulu pick was predominantly just to help against Hecarim dives, because when Hecarim goes in and lobbies him, ults the person he's trying to target, and basically it's just another peel to get the Hecarim off the carries, which I think we did see in this game, so it kind of did work in our favor. But you know, it was kind of hard for Hecarim in this game with Ornn and Sett and Lulu being able to come off the carries. Fnatic draft was a little bit hard to play out after we picked up Lulu.
It was speedy horse, but not speedy enough. And I'm trying a bit sometimes, but that's another story again. But Lucy, thank you very much for the interview. And I can't wait to see what you guys have prepared for Game 3.
Thank you.
And back to you, casters, for Game 3.
Thank you very much, Laure. Game 3 on the horizon. I'm Medic, this is Frost, this is Vedius. And after a loss that perhaps should have been a win for G2, for Fnatic, sorry, you have to wonder how you regroup after that sort of performance.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough loss for Fnatic. The game was in their hands. As Frosk said multiple times, this was Fnatic's game to lose. And it felt like the fact that at the very end, the execution just kind of blundered has definitely got to be frustrating for Fnatic.
I mean, the nice thing is that loser gets side selection, so Fnatic have another chance that they can rock from blue side and have targetable bans. I feel like the core of their strategy is still the same, which is containing caps, you know, banning away a LeBlanc, something that makes it very difficult to gank and punish into the mid lane. It was much more successful this time around for Fnatic. They were just unable to convert their early game success into late game close due to their own execution errors. So maybe there's a light spot there that they feel that they were in control of their own destiny and that they can just run it back and do the same thing.
There is Always hope for Fnatic. G2 so far put up a pretty strong wall against them, and we're going to jump on into the draft. Fnatic on the blue side, G2 on the red.
And this is what we were talking about. They're probably going to run the same strategy. So previously, Fnatic's blue side bans were LeBlanc, Shin, and they banned Caitlyn from blue side with the priority pick of that Hecarim. G2 were Lucian, Orianna, and Thresh. So everything so far the same.
I mean, ooh.
It's the Caitlyn priority pick.
Yeah, so now they're shifting priority. They're saying, okay, G2, you know what? We're not going to focus on the Hecarim this time. We will take the Kate. Are you going to ban it away? Or are you going to give up Ashe? And I think G2 should think about banning Ashe.
And give Caitlyn?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
I think you ban Caitlyn.
Yeah.
And then you have the priority of the Ashe pick.
Oh
no.
Oh, here we go.
Do you pick Caitlyn if you're Fnatic?
I mean,
yeah,
yes.
like, the answer has to be yes, right? Like,
the question is, will Fnatic pick Caitlyn? Because I feel like they have to, and I wonder if G2 is saying, we're calling your bluff, we don't think you'll pick Caitlyn. Because bear in mind, I think Ashe is actually still a fine matchup into Caitlyn, always kind of has been. But Caitlyn, because of her long range, could just be so dominant in lane, but there it is. Frost, you talked about it last game. Even though they banned it on blue side, I think everyone assumed there's no way in hell Rekkles doesn't play Caitlyn, and now we're gonna get to see him on it. This has to be a very bot side focused draft for Fnatic, because when you're locking in the Kate, it's all about getting those early plates, playing through the Caitlyn as often as much as possible, and basically lane dominance.
Yeah, push priority is going to be the name of the game this time around. It does mean that Selfmade can pick a more scaling-oriented jungler, because you would expect that with his laners, like a Caitlyn being so powerful, that he would have a lot of protection if he did want to reach for something like his Evelynn, perhaps. So we see the blind pick Ornn happening for Bwipo here.
Expect that obviously to go up into the top lane. It's been a while since we've seen Rekkles on the Caitlyn. 2018 spring was the last time he cracked that one out on the LEC stage. And now we'll see, do Fnatic want to team this up with a support here? Something like the Nautilus can be very strong. Something like the Bard as well gives you a lot of power.
A lot of roam potential as well, and a lot of gank setup and agency. Hilly's been having a great series so far, so to see him on a champion like Bard that can continue to unlock himself from the lane, or even just be super dominant, the Bard snare into a Caitlyn trap, into the meep damage, into the headshots, you can see how devastating and how obnoxious this combo can be.
Gonna round things out from G2 side with a Nautilus, of course, in the 2v2. Melee supports are always gonna struggle, but the all-in power of a an Ashe Nautilus is absolutely devastating. Once level 6 hits, it's just all in for days. So G2 also prepared for the bot side focus that Fnatic should be bringing to this game. I'm a little surprised that they went for the Ornn as opposed to something like a GP, which gives them a lot more agency towards the bot side. But in any case, we'll give them a strong front line and an easy way to engage, and also a big comfort pick for Bwipo in the top lane.
Now the assumption will be, do you pinch out top lane champions that could perhaps have free scaling against the Ornn, or do you target out Caps here and continue to limit his champion pool as he'll have the pick priority coming out of red side?
I think getting rid of some of the power that Caps has had, especially since he has the option to counter pick, the end of this makes a lot of sense. And there is the Zoe removed, LeBlanc already taken off the table.
You would imagine that Lilia would be the next ban from G2 Esports.
Yep.
Remove one of those scaling junglers that Selfmade has so much success on. Don't allow it to be paired up with things like the Ornn. The amount of crowd control and setup that has is definitely devastating. But G2 clearly taking their time. They want to make as much out of this as they can, thinking about the potential future picks.
The pivot can also just be to run the Gragas again. Well, he wants to go Gangplank. So Rengar is actually a really good pick into Gangplank top, and now you're allowed to blind pick Gangplank on 4 here.
But with the Ornn top, that's kind of why I'm confused, right? Because the assumption would be that the Ornn goes top lane. So unless G2 is expecting this Ornn to be flexed, which potentially it could be, like Ornn mid lane is, we haven't seen it for a while, but it's not impossible.
It was a Nemesis special.
Yeah, that's fair. So, as you rightly said, that does suggest that G2 right now is thinking about the GP, and I think that can also be a very powerful pick when it comes to... Nope. Okay, so the Rengar just confuses me even more now.
They just assume that Selfmade would play it.
Yeah, okay, I guess that's the other assumption, because they immediately lock in the Vladimir, assuming that that will be the Ornn top. And again, as the Zilean was picked into the Ornn last game, the Vladimir has the same principle where it's not that you beat the Ornn in lane, but you will be able to get a free scaling lane where you shouldn't die in the 1 versus 1, so Vladimir can become a late game terror as the game progresses.
And so now we have to see exactly how Fnatic are going to deal with this. The Graves farming powerful jungler for Selfmade, someone that he can have an impact on the game with. Nemesis looking towards his Twisted Fate as well. Gives him that roam potential, gives him the ability to get down towards the bottom side of the map and help out that Caitlyn lane.
I really prefer the Cassiopeia here.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I actually think I prefer the TF.
Okay, we're not going to get either. The reason why I really wanted the Cassiopeia is in the LPL, it's really common to have the Cassie come in when you have a hyper carry like a Caitlyn, because she acts like a Syndra, where you just stand next to your AD carry and you can't dive back onto the Caitlyn and cause any pressure. And if you do the Cassiopeia lock-in, that tells me that this is all really about Rekkles. But pivoting towards the Corki, I think they're prioritizing having map pressure. He'll probably take the TP again. He can itemize into the Hex Drinker. Again, you do give Caps one of his strong champions, but you just have to pick your poison. And this is about, again, Fnatic beating G2 on the map.
So right now, Fnatic have 3 AD carries drafted. Of course, that won't be over-indexing on AD damage, because Corki does provide a lot of magic damage. My concern is how this Graves is going to function in this team composition. I think that playing against Ashe, Syndra, and Vlad makes Graves' life very difficult. At the same time, Fnatic have a very long-range comp that is excellent at sieging, assuming they can play around their bot lane very well. And that's my concern. Can they really unlock Rekkles on this Caitlyn? Or are they instead saying, like, let's go for the Stormrazor plus Infinity Edge spike that you can get on Caitlyn, have a strong mid-game, and instead try to play around that angle rather than trying to snowball the bot side of the map?
It is a lot of weight on Rekkles' shoulders. We are waiting to see if Fnatic can get him into a position where he can really carry this game. Of course, he does have Selfmade, he does have Nemesis by his side, he has these other carries on the side of Fnatic, but they are 0-2 down versus G2. This was the story in spring, where they got demolished in a 3-0 sweep. And coming into this weekend, coming into these finals, I think a lot of people would have said that Fnatic were, if not the favorites, at least close to G2, and we haven't quite seen that yet.
Well, I disagree with that, because I do think that Fnatic and G2 have had insanely close games.
Okay, they have been very close games. Okay,
right.
Not on the scoreboard.
Sure,
on the scoreboard, G2 are 2-0 up.
Yeah, because I do really think that, like, if G2 win 3-0, that is not a representation of what we've seen. And I think that last week when Fnatic and G2 went toe-to-toe, it was another very close series, and I think that that's what we're seeing once again, because I think that Fnatic have demonstrated a lot of really good things here, and a lot of their failures have ultimately come down to small execution errors, either on the individual or overall in the comp.
I do want to quickly look at what's happening in the game.
Let's go into the game.
That is an SOFM special. That is Selfmade rocking the Ignite Smite on Graves.
Yep. I think we've seen it a few times actually throughout the year. A couple of, not here in Europe, it's not a very common thing, but
this is an LPL common thing.
It's pretty crazy. Of course, you sacrifice the additional mobility that you get. And I remember talking to Endrabat, and he's like, I don't really like it because Graves only has his E and I suppose his ult as well to be able to get out there. He's a very low-range champion, so while it definitely helps your early skirmishing, if you're out of position, like, there's very little that you're going to be able to do to get out of that situation outside of fighting your way out. So we'll see how Selfmade makes it work.
And obviously, usually when you see a Graves, it's more about the farming. You know, the fact that he does scale very well, that he can be get through his initial few clears and then be a very powerful jungler when it's time to skirmish and fight into these rivers. But having something like an Ignite may insinuate that maybe he's doing something else with his time. Maybe he is looking for early ganks or even better, early control over that river. You know, he rocks into river, and Jankos really has to respect that Graves is also bringing the Ignite with him.
Does make it hard for Selfmade to navigate some of these fights later on. I'm looking at the Face Breaker, the Force of Scatter the Weak, the Arrow, the Nautilus hook. Like, there's a lot of stuff you got to dodge. You only got one quick draw.
It is not a great game to beat a Graves. That is going to be something that he's going to have to navigate into these big 5v5s. I do want to talk about what we've seen from the series so far, and it's frankly been a ton of fighting. And I agree with Vedius that if this is a 3-0, or as we're standing right now is a 2-0 up for G2, it doesn't really tell the story of the game and how close these games have been. My only concern is, for Fnatic's comp, is when there's been so much fighting and so much back and forth and so much tussling, they don't actually have, a ton of hard engage, and B, a ton of tools to fight. They like to stack up, they like to take things really slow, and I am a little bit concerned that they're going to try to fight anyway and not have the tools needed and then slowly fall down.
You have got the Call of the Forge God and the Tempered Fate if you can find those picks, but as you say, those are really the only tools that Fnatic have at their disposal. They'll be very strong in skirmishes as well because of all these AD carries.
Because thinking more about it, Frosk, when I look at how Vladimir is going to play this late game, like, in an ideal world, Fnatic would kind of want to play a front to back with kind of Bwipo and Selfmade acting as the front line. Hylissang's going to be as obnoxious as possible as Jankos looking for a gank in mid lane. I'll hold that thought.
Nemesis should be able to walk away from this one. Selfmade is on a ward, has a level advantage over Jankos right now, but G2 very aware that Selfmade is there.
I like the fact that they don't force it at all. Continue your point, Betty.
You know, funnily enough, I was thinking if Caps had Ignite, they probably could have killed Selfmade there. But that's just solo queue things. Anyway, Selfmade kind of having his eye on top side. I want to kind of get to my point, but I feel like Fnatic and G2 never give us that opportunity as they're looking for action already.
You said it, Frost. There's been a lot of kills, a lot of action as they look for the dive in the top lane. Only one minion left alive. Selfmade's going to meet the Jankos, who has that face breaker, pulls him back. Bwipo dives forward as well. Jankos takes a lot of damage. The Haymaker coming out as well, and with Wunder still scaling up on the Vladimir. It's going to take a while. Nautilus in the mid lane, as you say. Mikyx looks for Nemesis. No flash burnt there on the Corki. And Mikyx going to continue to stay around here as Rekkles and Hylissang get some time to push in that bottom lane.
So forget about my earlier point. We've got to talk about mid lane right now because look at the wave state that Caps has been able to set up. Nemesis is being completely zoned from so much farm. This is going to freeze underneath the tower. Caps is going to get a reset. He's going to be able to TP back in. And now Nemesis is forced to overextend with both Mikyx and Jankos eyeing him up. Nemesis is like, please, just let me farm. But all of G2 is like, no, 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 we play for Caps. You know we're going to play for Caps. And here comes Mikyx once again.
Mikyx looking for the hook there onto Nemesis. Nemesis still has the flash. Ignite is ticking and Mikyx goes in, swings the anchor, gets first blood to G2. Selfmade dashes across the wall here. Jankos on the chase. End of the line's going to do quite a lot. There's the Ignite. Mikyx's going to fall as well. Selfmade gets his first kill of the game. And now Fnatic are looking to turn it around in the mid lane. Hylissang knocked back. Caps not going to step forward with the Dark Sphere.
I mean, the Ignite coming up clutch there for Selfmade so they can at least change 1-for-1 there, Fnatic and G2. But otherwise, big ego there to try to force to break that freeze. And you can understand why Nemesis wants it, but at the same time, the numbers advantage was there for G2. He gets knocked up by the stun, the hook follows through, and that one is definitely going to hurt as the freeze is still there and the CS gap has opened up considerably between Nemesis and Caps.
So what Nemesis needs to happen is his jungler and support to come and help. And that's what Hylissang is doing here. He's like, hey, I'm going to help. But the moment he steps away, Caps like, this is our window. We can easily force this. And Mikyx with the Ignite, that was the damage that they needed to help secure this. Now, at this point, I'm like, Selfmade can be killed. And I think G2 is thinking the same thing. What they don't appreciate is that Rekkles is on the way and how much damage Selfmade has with the Ignite as well. There was no vision inside that brush. He's able to dish out a lot as G2 is running into him. And getting that kill onto Graves definitely valuable. But the fact that Nemesis on this Corki, like, as long as these two iterations of these rosters has existed, what we've almost always talked about is how you can't allow Nemesis to fall behind Caps, because if you do, he's going to do things
dead.
like this.
Unleashed Power comes out, Dark Sphere is all he needs. Caps has Flash and Nemesis does not. And Vedi, you set it up beautifully. Caps, you can see him smiling in the player cam there as well. He knows that he has Nemesis's number.
He's consistently had Nemesis's number. And I think last year, Summer Finals was when we saw these two players at their closest, when it was the Akali-Sylas meta, when they were going toe-to-toe. But Caps, when he's in this position where he has these cover picks, these power picks, he's always the one looking to carry. Now, Wunder doing the same in the top lane.
Call of the Forge God coming out from Bwipo. Yet to see the 6 on Jankos. Good flash there from Bwipo, but the Facebreaker will chase him down, and Wunder will help Jankos secure the kill. Arrow hits Hylissang in the bottom lane. He still has flash. Mikyx wasn't in the position to land a hook as Selfmade tries to get something back for Fnatic in this early game. Will be spotted out with a Hawk shot, and the rest of G2 nowhere near close enough to respond to this. So Fnatic will get an Ocean Dragon at least.
But already 7 minutes into the game, and there's 4 kills that went down. And this is one of my concerns with Fnatic's composition. They just want to sit back and just chill. And like, yeah, the fights happen because they're trying to reset waves. It's not like Fnatic were trying to fight right there, but you know that G2 are going to fight you and they're going to force it, and Fnatic needed to respect that more. Like, this comp, this is disaster. You do not want this to happen. There's no reason to try to force anything here.
But this is also why I was surprised by the Caitlyn, because when you draft Caitlyn, what we've often seen is a heavy priority on utilizing her range to snowball bot lane leads. And this comp doesn't enable them to do that. Graves is not about high ganks, high snowballing. He's about farming, taking safety. And again, I know that Caitlyn is a strong scaling pick, but one of her biggest assets is her ability to dominate the early game. And when you are so behind in mid lane, when you have a jungle setup like this, I feel like Fnatic don't have the tools to try and snowball Rekkles.
Now, because of this, Rekkles was holding the wave. It will slowly push back. You can see the caster minions are focus fired on a single target, so it will build up and crash into Perkz' wave. But Rekkles does have a tendency that he'll use champions not necessarily to be hyper aggressive in lane, but to get freezes and then unlock Hilly. And while I agree with you that normally you do see Caitlyn used as like a snowball, threatening towers, constantly having wave pressure, Ashe also just has great clear control.
It's true.
You have to take the cleanse respect, because you have to respect the arrow, which will be up in a second. But he could actually be using it to stay safe in lane.
Yep.
To use the range and the net to just kind of stay back. That would definitely be like a Rekkles Fnatic style.
That's true. And again, it's not like Caitlyn falls off a cliff later into
They're going to throw arrow.
They definitely have information, but they're not going to do it for now. They want to prioritize getting the wave and the farm on the Perkz. They could freeze this if they wanted to, but they're not going to. They're going to try and shove this out. They may look for another reset if they wanted to. Oh, they're going to set up a slow push, it actually looks like. Now, I'm looking at the jungle camps that are available right now. You will see that...
The blue.
Yeah, the whole bot side is currently available for Jankos, which means they could look to path towards bot. Then with the Rift Herald, they can either set up a dive.
And then have the 2 waves or 3 waves stacked on Herald.
Yep, that is what you call forward thinking there from the bot lane.
That would also be why he would hold his ultimate. He doesn't want to throw it, because you could burn.
Use it for the dive.
Yeah, you could use the cleanse, but now if Jankos resets his positioning and does use the Herald on the slow push that Perkz has set up that Vedius was just talking about, now you have the arrow that if someone's hanging around, you get the 2-for-1 special. Now Fnatic see this coming. Looks like they're trying to set up a counterplay.
And Jankos is going to work his way down towards this bottom side. His blue buff is being invaded by Selfmade. He's on his way, but I'm not sure they're going to get there quickly enough. Caps is coming around the corner as well. There's the arrow, hits only onto Selfmade. Caps taking the long way around the blue buff. Selfmade will secure the blue. And yeah, that was less than fine from Mikyx.
That is the greatest Nautilus player you will ever see.
Oh, that's fantastic. Selfmade was just like, thanks for the help, blue buff. Much appreciate that.
So isn't that skin actually the Conqueror skin from the MSI? They won as well. So he's using his own skin to try and land hooks at the moment, failing just a little bit. Tempered Fate hits onto Perkz, Selfmade on the chaser, and Perkz, even with the range's focus, just doesn't have the damage stuck in the smoke screen, and Fnatic find a kill in the bottom lane.
So all that stuff that Vedius and I were talking about, the slow push into the arrow, and that, forget all of
Didn't
that.
work.
G2's bot lane decided that we were going to hook blue buffs, that we were going to try to contest Fnatic, that we're just going to get hit by Bard ultimates even though we have Flash, and now Jankos is like, it's fine, I guess. I still have caps.
So I still have some question marks around Jankos' pathing, though. Maybe this wasn't G2's plan and there's something that we missed, but he actually went to his Krugs rather than pathing towards bot, so he wasn't even here in time. Mikyx misses another hook. That should have been a free kill, but due to an execution error, now will not be. And Rekkles is going to be the benefactor of all of this as he gets level 8 and has a healthy CS lead.
I don't know what's more impressive. The fact that Mikyx doesn't hit Nautilus Qs, you know what I mean? Like, it's such a massive hitbox.
You have to be very skilled to miss with that hitbox, let's be honest. He is 2 levels down over Hylissang right now. He's having a pretty good series and pretty good game. So you say Rekkles in a very strong position. 20 farm ahead of Perkz. Has finished the BF sword and the pickaxe, building his way up towards the Infinity Edge. 11 minutes in, G2 are in the lead, about 1,200 gold, but Fnatic have some of these windows, have some of these opportunities, some promising things building up as Hylissang looks for the magical journey, but can't quite go in onto Perkz.
That is a good example of a mind game right there. Utilizing the E to threaten that a gank could potentially coming, forces Perkz to play more defensively, and stops him from just clean pushing out that wave, buying Rekkles and Hylissang a little bit more time for Selfmade to arrive on the bot side of the map. Notice that the Drake is going to be spawning in about 25 seconds. TP for Wunder is currently not up, and now Fnatic go for the play, and they force Perkz to flash. So that small play delayed the push, and ultimately allowed them to get Perkz to summon a spell.
That said, while they do get the flash off of Ashe, they could have tried to get Mikyx, who's sitting without flash, if they wanted to potentially force the kill. But going into a dragon fight with Ashe having no flash, of course, is going to be very powerful.
And denying it from the AD carry just is so strong when you get towards these fights. Cloud Drake up. Fnatic will look towards it as Jankos clears out the river of any wards. Oh, Bwipo's just TP'd to the top lane. So makes me feel like Fnatic perhaps don't want to completely fight around this. Wunder will use the Sanguine Pool to try and get away. Bwipo heals as well. Switching through those spells as quickly as he can with the Summoners.
Ah, Medic.
Yeah?
You think that Fnatic aren't going to try to force this?
I mean, Caps is almost dead. Foster's Bomb doesn't connect. Nemesis flashes forward, gets the auto. Jankos gets the dragon. Fnatic are able to find a good shutdown onto the Syndra.
It's actually really massive, because look at the itemization difference. The fact that Syndra has the completed Luden's Echo and Nemesis is sitting on tier pickaxe there, and they're able to find the kill. Yes, Graves, 2v1, they managed to get the jump on Caps, but this Ignite is actually really paying off.
Yeah, I was really worried for Nemesis initially. However, he's been able to come back quite nicely. He was able to grab that kill in the bot lane onto Perkz. Now, with the help of Selfmade, they were able to catch Caps in the rotation towards the Drake. And while they do concede the second Drake, you're putting Nemesis back into the game, and I think the Fnatic are more than happy to take that trade. On top of the fact that Rekkles gets more plates, hook lands.
Mickey's going to step on a trap as soon as he comes out, eats a delicious cupcake. The arrow only hits onto Selfmade, and Mikyx really doesn't have anywhere to go. Another trap goes down. Rekkles gets the kill, and Perkz is forced back underneath his tower. Fnatic are starting to show us a lot of signs of life in this game.
So, kill after kill after kill, Fnatic have been consistently punishing G2, specifically their bot lane, in the 2 versus 2, getting numerous summoner spells out from them. But we always knew this is how it would look in the series. G2 solo laners versus Fnatic bot lane, and the junglers influencing the difference. And I think that Selfmade having huge impact on this Graves. We were questioning how it would influence the early game. Now let's see how Caps can influence the top side of the map.
Once again, roaming around, this is what he's done so well throughout the course of the split. Bwipo's going to call the Forge. God hits it onto Wunder, but Wunder out of tower range. Unleashed power used by Caps very early. Showstopper coming out as well. Bwipo survived for as long as he could. Hylissang, it comes in just a little bit too late to help out his top lane.
One of the strengths that Vladimir and Sett are going to have is the tower dive potential with the shield as well as the W, able to drop aggro or just brute force through the damage that the tower is going to do. Now, meanwhile, they do make a successful gank top lane. Rekkles did pick up that tower on the bot side, so Caitlyn is unlocked, Infinity Edge in hand, and ready to start walking lane from lane and just being a terror.
And 15 minutes into Game 3 of this series, it is incredibly even once again. The two teams that have claimed 7 titles each here in the LEC. The winner of this series takes a historic record, 8 titles home with them. Now G2 have done it in half the time, you know, they've only taken 5 years to get their 7 split wins, but Fnatic, this felt like the season, felt like the summer where they could be vindicated, where their faithful would be rewarded. And after those first 2 games, they have such a mountain to climb to get back into this series.
Well, the bright side is Fnatic looking pretty good at this point in time. 15 minutes in, they're pretty even with G2. I do like the fact that they have scaling options again. I think Frost brought up some really great points earlier on about how these fights are going to play out, what they potentially look like, and I think that what we can say for sure is that it's impossible to predict, because these team fights between these 2 teams have been absolutely chaotic. We've seen a lot of back and forths, and ultimately it comes down to who will be able to execute on the day. But Rekkles on Caitlyn, he should have so much more agency than he potentially has on a Senna, so we'll see what he can do with it.
Yeah, there's going to be tons more safety for Fnatic's composition on an open map with all of the movement tools that they have, the range advantage, things like using Valkyrie even on a side lanes with this Corki to continue to play out and force pressure, whereas it does feel that G2 are much more about stacking up together as a team and trying to make use of either Scatter the Weak, Ashe Arrow, or Nautilus R.
Temper Fate hits onto Mikyx. He uses the Dredge Line. Trap will do a little bit of damage. Scatter the Weak not quite going to connect. Here's the call of the Forge God. Does Fnatic try and turn it back around? Depth charge on Rekkles. Doesn't quite connect as the ace in the hole comes out and slides its way all the way through the Perkz. Rekkles weaved it through them as perfectly as he could. But Hylissang will fall. Selfmade will fall on the clapback. And Nemesis was not with the team for the majority of this. Mikyx stepped very far forward. Nemesis comes in with the phosphorus bombs and will answer. Makes it a 2 for 2 in the mid lane as G2 take down the turret.
A couple more execution errors there on both sides, but ultimately it's G2 that come out on top. They get themselves the mid-tier 1, and they pick themselves 2 kills as we traded back and forth. So this fight starts off with the ultimate from Bard coming through, and then a great double binding from Hylissang.
But the thing is I don't know if I agree with Fnatic trying to force this fight. It is nice that you have the Infinity Edge on Caitlyn, so Rekkles is feeling very confident to fight with the battle stats that he has. The fact that he bends it like Beckham to pick up this snipe on Perkz, like, that's just a big whoopsie. But Nemesis walks from bot lane to join in on the back half of this on a fight that Fnatic decided that we've disengaged from it and we want to take. Or they could actually be picking up farm on their Corki right now, pushing down a tower on a composition that scales really well. And I'm just curious what the conversation was. Was this Rekkles like, I'm powerful, we need to fight right now? And will that bite them because they lose their mid lane tower and it was still a good trade back for G2?
I think, in my opinion, the logic is because they landed such a great double binding onto both Perkz and Caps, that was an opportunity for them to commit to a fight. Yep. I then think the issue for Fnatic was they committed too hard because of the reasons you suggested, which was that Nemesis was not involved. So do I think this could have been a good fight? Yes. Do I think that it was poorly executed? Yes. Now the Drake fight is coming up. Let's see how this one goes.
CP coming into the middle of the fight. Wunder's going to be in a great position. Selfmade trying to get the dragon as Wunder joins the fray. Bwipo trading against 3 people, but he's already dead. Hylissang uses the Tempered Fate only on himself, and the Hemo plate gets onto the backline as Wunder dives forward. Hylissang walking his way, limping away from the fight. The dragon's gone down, Hylissang's gone down, Bwipo's gone down, and G2 find a perfect fight in the river.
And through all of this, we have not been paying attention to Wunder in the top lane, the free farming Vladimir, the 1-0-4 scoreline with the already completed Spellbinder. The issue that Fnatic have is that without that front line, even with the front line, Wunder doesn't care. His backline target access is so strong that it always forces Rekkles and Nemesis to play on the defensive, which means that Fnatic's front-to-back comp is not as easy to execute.
Yeah, there's nothing that they can do to stop this Vladimir. They are going to try to 2v1 him, see what Wunder can get done. No ultimate, does have flash.
Smokescreen comes down pretty early on, and here comes the TP. Cap's going to join the fight. Sanguine Pool used. Nemesis chunked out already, and Selfmade not able to hit the collateral damage. Caps can't quite hit the Dark Spheres as well. Showstopper used by Jankos to kill Nemesis, and here comes Perkz on the chase. 2 quick kills to G2, and in a matter of moments, the gold lead has extended to 3,000 in advantage for G2.
And just beautifully executed by Wunder right there. He makes sure that he flashes the collateral damage and then sidesteps, I believe, 2 rockets from Corki. Just crisp.
And let's look at this fight that initially started off. So it's Fnatic that start off the Drake, but notice that Bwipo is tanking up 3 people for the time being. Then keep your eyes on what Wunder does. All of Fnatic is sitting over the wall because they got zoned away by Jankos alone. Then Wunder's like, sure, I can take this fight. Rekkles is forced to disengage, throwing traps down, and Wunder's just zoning everyone away while the rest of G2 deal with the Ornn.
We're going to talk about how Hilly just like threw up his ultimate, missed Wunder, hit himself, and then just died immediately after.
Well, I don't know if he was trying to buy time, but whatever it was, it definitely did not pay out in their favor. And then, you know, Fnatic trying to make that play up top. You have to ask the question about the mentality right now, because last split, it was Fnatic getting 3-0. They got crushed last split, and everyone left feeling a sense of disappointment. We thought we'd get another 5 games. Now, this series, we had an intense game 1. We had an even more intense game 2, and I think expectations were that Fnatic would be able to bounce back. They had a pretty promising early game, but now that they're starting to fall behind, the thought of getting 3-0'd again must weigh on their minds, and it feels like the momentum is very quickly shifting in G2's favor.
But it would just be such a completely different circumstance, and it would be so unfortunate if that happened, because it wouldn't tell the story of how close these games have been, but things are falling apart at the seams. Maybe a comeback.
Hylissang hits the double Tempered Fate. Perkz caught out on the trap. Rekkles trying to open up, can't quite get the damage down. Perkz still alive. With that Vengeance focus, going to keep himself alive for the moment. Caps has been exhausted. Bwipo diving forward. Perkz somehow survives, but Nemesis is going for it. He gets 2 on the back line. And now it's Selfmade, Rekkles, and Nemesis trying to win this 3v1 Wunder, though. He's just diving towers. The unleashed power onto Nemesis is enough to get that kill. It's a double. And now Caps, Wunder, and Jankos can step forward once again. There's nothing Selfmade and Rekkles can do.
I've got good news and bad news, Fnatic fans. The good news is Nemesis picked up 2 kills right there. The Corki is starting to do damage. The bad news is no one can protect Rekkles. Rekkles was doing ring around the rosies, musical chairs with Wunder right there. As Vladimir was just sprinting after him, and the AD carry's like, I don't know what you want me to do. There's no counterplay here. He sprints right at me.
And let's watch Wunder in this fight, because note that he is bot lane for the time being, right? And then a lot of time is bought by Fnatic, because Hylissang actually soaks up a lot of ultimates. Great knock-up and great damage from Rekkles and Bwipo, and you're thinking, oh, this is a great fight initially for Fnatic. But the ultimate comes through, knocking up Rekkles and Hylissang, again buying time. Another knock-up comes through from Bwipo, and again you're looking at this fight being like, okay, nice Fnatic. But then Wunder comes in from the flank. Jankos and Caps hard commits, and it ends up being a 2-sided fight where while Nemesis does get 2 kills, he now realizes that he doesn't have any backup, because Selfmade is doing what he can to peel for Rekkles, who's already been zoned away by a solo Wunder.
MVP of the series yesterday versus Rogue. Wunder once again shows us that he can bring the fire when it matters. 106, 220 CS. And Bwipo just hasn't been able to find an answer for him this series. Rekkles, he's got his rapid fire cannon. He's got his Infinity Edge. He is a strong Caitlyn. But as you've said, how do you protect him in these fights?
Well, he also doesn't have Flash and he doesn't have Cleanse right now, which means that it's like they can't contest mid-priority. Fnatic actually just have to wait until the wave is pushed into them, whereas Ashe is going to feel super confident walking to the wave, forcing that one forward because of all of the engage tools that G2 have versus virtually none of the engage tools other than Tempered Fate and Ornn Ultimate that Fnatic have. And that means that it's going to be that much harder for G2, or excuse me, Fnatic to face check into stuff like this.
Yeah, Selfmade's going to get arrowed here, just kept out of the fight. Nemesis, he ticks away, Caps takes him.
And that stems from the fact that Fnatic can't get away from their own tower because they don't have those summoner spells. And when you're face checking into the amount of pick potential that G2 have on their composition, it's just difficult. Like, you can't do anything for 5 minutes.
And it feels like Fnatic are falling apart once again. History is doomed to repeat itself as another 3-0 for G2 is on the horizon. You can see how the momentum is shifting so rapidly, and G2 know exactly what to do when they have these leads. And Wunder has himself a death cap. He's level 15. It is the story of the solo laners. Jankos is saying no for success, but this guy's a one-man army.
Hylissang's going to try and get away from this. They use the magical journey, but Wunder's very happy to follow them through it, and there pops Hylissang. It's just devastation, it's just demolition, and after 2 very close games, it feels like G2 have downloaded Fnatic, and now it's a massacre.
You could see it on Rekkles' face. Like, there's nothing that we can do right now. We don't win side lane assignments. If it is a 5v5, there's no protection for the backline. Fnatic are going to have to pull out a miracle if they want to get back into this game. Like, yeah, they have the scaling, but they are so far behind the clock, and they have no control over their map. This is G2's game to run away with.
But again, like, even the scaling aspect, your Caitlyn is now being forced to build a Hex Drinker.
Yep.
Like, the mid lane dip of attack damage item, attack speed item, like, Caitlyn is sitting in it right now. There's no Trinity Force on Corki. Last game he had like 18 minutes, both fully stacked up. We're 25 minutes in, and he doesn't have either. Nemesis is so far behind the clock. Frost couldn't have said it any better. Like, Fnatic is just too far behind to really contest G2, and now they need G2 to fumble the execution like they have done so many times this series.
So what are you looking for, Fnatic faithful? Well, first and foremost, you need to start making safe lanes to farm in, which means you need to clear out the jungle. You can see that Nemesis still does great damage, but Wunder can just sit there and tank up forever. That does mean, though, that G2 can eventually turn towards the Baron. They're either looking at fishing for picks with the Ashe arrow, or they'll turn the Baron and say, you can't contest this anyway, and then we can use this to continue to choke you out.
There's also an Infernal Soul available for G2 in 3 minutes' time. We have seen Selfmade manage to steal one. I believe it was in the last game, kept that soul away from G2 for as long as he could. See if he can do it again. Of course, no flash on that Graves. Caps has a Medjai's, 14 stacks. Jankos, 5-0-3 with the Deadmans, and a Randuin's on its way, it appears. The Rabadon Spellbinder complete for Wunder. G2 are well and truly online, a 6,000 gold lead, and they are looking for their 4th consecutive title here in the LEC.
So game obviously very tense on a knife's edge, as Caps and probably kill Bwipo.
It's going to put the spheres down. There is an Abyssal Mask upgraded to that Infernal Mask.
And a Locket. Well, not the completed Locket, but the Aegis.
So, at the moment, Caps cannot kill Bwipo. Can keep him at arm's reach, at least.
He's got blue buff. Just give him time.
Yes.
He'll take a couple runs
Slowly
at
chip
it.
away at him. That's how you take down a mountain, right? Just chip, 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 chip. In the end, it would work his way through it. But G2 seems to be willing just to wait this out.
I mean, they do still have great scaling options themselves. You can see, oh, thank you for highlighting the level progression, because 16, 16,
14.
14. Yeah, the XP gap is just so big. Fnatic is just kind of holding on right now. The good news is so many good items still have come through. Corki is finally online. The biggest problem is the level differential. The fact that Caps and Wunder already have their 3rd point in their ultimate, like, it's an underappreciated fact, but level 16 is such a big power spike for so many champions, specifically AP ones, where Vladimir and Syndra will now just have so much damage at their disposal.
And you know it'll feel better? An Infernal Soul.
Yeah, correct. If you're G2, that's for sure. And G2, I feel like that while there definitely are many mistakes, coming into the World Championship with a 3-0, definitely a big confidence booster, especially if they can end this in a dominant fashion here in this final, or potentially final game rather. Fnatic still, it's difficult to come back from this spot, but not impossible. We've seen Fnatic do crazier things before. It ultimately comes down to these big objectives, the Dragon and the Baron.
I will say that Fnatic have done a good job slowing down the pace of the game, waiting in between monster objectives because they've been playing so safe and backed by their towers and denying G2 either through itemization or positioning on the map, continuing to snowball the game out of control. But like you were talking about, the issue is the timers have run out, the Infernal Soul is about to be played for, and while it's a little bit better, like the Muramana has now been completed, the Trinity Force has come in for Nemesis, it's still not great because Caitlyn is still sitting in the power trough. She had to pivot into the Maw. It's now been completed from the Hex Drinker because of how powerful Wunder is and how strong Caps is. And it means that they're not as strong as they want to be. There's the immediate cleanse.
Arrow went out and hit Bwipo. Hylissang trying to get him from the side here, but Caps is on 4 items. He has 14 stacks on his Medjais. He has a Void Staff, he has a Ludens, he has a Spellbinder. Like, if Caps catches you with Unleashed Power, you are in for a world of hurt. And while all of this is happening, while the Infernal Soul is being started up by G2, Wunder takes a turret. Mikyx gonna hook himself away. He goes golden, but still drags himself to the terrain. Fnatic gonna step forward. Look at Wunder. He's got a flank position off here. He could be so powerful in this fight. He's gonna clear out the mid lane. Wunder coming in. Bwipo trying to step forward. Perkz doing what he can with the play of the Ruined King. Ace in the hole's gonna land on the back line, but there's a showstopper used and Bwipo's already dead. Wunder still doing what he can. Stepping forward. Nemesis forced away. Perkz flashes forward looking for the kill. He will fall. Selfmade goes down. Nemesis goes down. Bwipo goes down. And only Hylissang and Rekkles are alive.
Now on the back half, they did manage to take down and survive Wunder. Rekkles now coming back with the red buff. Can he save the day?
Hylissang flashes looking for the Cosmic Binding, but Rekkles gets hooked and Caps unleashes the full force of Syndra straight into the face of his former teammate, and you have to think that's it. You have to think they're done. G2 wipe Fnatic off the map.
The ace comes through for G2, and with the death timers, it looks like G2 won't be able to end the game, but it may as well have been the final nail in the coffin. Once again, the team fight gets split into 2. Nemesis goes into the fight with Bwipo, and his positioning is great, but then he gets split off and hooked in by Mikyx. Mikyx's missed a lot of hooks, but when it counts, he's landed them, forcing Nemesis out of the fight. Perkz flashes in and is able to get that kill. While Selfmade does answer in kind, he ends up dropping as well, and while Rekkles is able to live, ultimately the damage is already done in here. Once again, we see Mikyx land such a crucial hook. It looks like Hylissang flashes out of the way to avoid it, but that then opens up Rekkles to get hooked in. Caps then comes in, holding his ultimate to that crucial moment. And you can see that Fnatic just fall apart. G2 with a big ace, the Soul, and only the Baron left before G2 looked to 3-0 Fnatic once again.
And you could see it. It was given to Rekkles. That could have been his moment. And I'm not saying that it's entirely on Rekkles. You know, maybe Hilly needs to stand in front of him as Bwipo engages, finds Jankos, big damage.
Would be a great catch as well because the Baron seems to be on the minds of G2. Wunder down in the bottom lane has the teleport. G2 will not start it up.
But how different is it if Rekkles flashes over that Dragon Wall, follows Selfmade and Nemesis, and plays behind his carries? How different is it if Hilly doesn't flash, he stays in front of Rekkles, and he's just there to tank the hook? It is inches here in terms of teamfight execution. Rekkles was set up there, he could have done it.
And it always is inches between Fnatic and G2. It's always those magical moments that really shine, that really show who can win it in the clutch. Hook's gonna land here onto Bwipo. Showstopper brings him into Hylissang, and Hylissang is popped in the middle of a magical journey, and now Bwipo gonna use the Core of the Forge God trying to survive. Fnatic gonna try and open up, see if they can get into this fight, but Bwipo's already done. He's dead. G2 turn towards the Baron, and Fnatic, you've only got your 3 AD carries left alive. You have to pull something magical out of the hat to win this one.
Their composition outside of Caitlyn is just, they can't step forward. They can't attack at all. Bwipo goes in and there is no follow-up. We talked about how the difference between inting and tanking was the follow-up. Right now it is just a lot of inting.
And G2 just looks so convincing in this third game. Wunder and Caps have come up huge. And of course, shout out to Jankos. None of this would be possible if it weren't for his early game investment. But Wunder has found Rekkles, and I think that'll be his grave. G2 will cement their victory by taking down the star of Fnatic with no Caitlyn left to stand in their way. G2 are on track to secure their 8th European title.
The thing is that people always want to count them out. They struggled, the desperation coming in through Haley, but there's nothing you can do. You can never count out G2. If you get tired of hearing it, we get tired of saying it, but I never get tired of watching it.
Oh, Perkz has just been caught out there. Caps has the unleashed powers, used it. Nemesis forced away. It is a 4v3. Wunder's still stepping forward, just straight into the faces of Fnatic through the base. He pops Graves where he stands. Selfmade can do nothing as Wunder continues to tank turret after turret and then dies. Top lane inhibitor has fallen. Mid lane's going to follow shortly after. G2, little bit greedy in a couple of those plays, will now back away, reset, and with an 11,000 gold lead, they'll look to close out this game.
Dangerous though. They actually threw away the attempt to close it right there. If they maybe had used their W a bit more conservatively, maybe not tanked some towers.
Wouldn't be G2 unless they did what they've just did.
Oh yes, we have to throw at least 2 times.
Yep, that's definitely true. And it's one of those things where, as you rightly said, Frost, the thing is, we always have to talk about G2 because they've earned that pedigree. You know, the fact that regardless of how they look, regardless of what you think, the talent that exists on this roster is some of the best that we have here in Europe. And when you put them in a position where the pressure is really on when it really counts, they've been able to show up and step up, you know, outside of a world final. But aside from that, G2 has been the dominant force in European history. They have been the greatest team that Europe has ever produced, and they're looking to continue that legacy as they look to 3-0 Fnatic once again.
One more wave. Just this bottom lane needs to be pushed in here for G2. Fnatic still holding on to hope, holding on to Rekkles. Level 16, Infinity Edge upgraded to Molten Edge. More Storm Razor, Rapid Fire Cannon. The tools are there. The question is, can you keep G2 at bay? Can you hold them at arm's length for long enough for that Caitlyn to open up, for that sniper to find its shots? Because right now, G2 just continue to step forward, continue to barrel down the base of Fnatic, and Fnatic, there are so few ways left back into this game.
I just think the itemization is not... I don't think there's anything Rekkles can do here. Here's a deep teleport. This is it. This is desperation.
That's
the last
huge.
attempt.
Triple Tempered Fate going in with the package. Mikyx on the front line. Caps is already dead though, and the unleashed power coming out. Perkz is down as well. It's huge. It's 3 kills for Fnatic. They found a way to fight back. Now they're going to dive onto Wunder. Hylissang and Selfmade chasing on towards this Vladimir. The question is, can you kill him? No, you have to back away. You have to go and reset. You have to clear the super minions. Jankos still alive. Wunder's still alive. And Fnatic continue to hold on to their life in this game.
Just like the 300, Fnatic refused to budge. They just hold the line. They never give up. Even when all of the odds are stacked against them, they're able to find these miracle plays. And while it might just be a drip in the giant ocean that is G2, it's enough to potentially get them the Elder and stall this game out for a big comeback.
It's also just a massive Bard ultimate from Hilly right there to set it up beautifully. You could see that G2 were starting to pull Wunder for the flank. He has the Hourglass. He would do massive damage and feel so confident to go into the back line.
Caps has TP, Wunder has ult, Rekkles has no one there. He's going to put the traps down to try and keep Wunder at arm's length, but can't do it. And now Wunder's on the chase, and there's the TP, and you can see actually in the base it's Caps. Caps is going in for the win. What a G2 way to close out this game. Wunder will kill Rekkles. Jankos goes in and helps them get Hilly, and Caps is in the base. 10 splits. 8 titles. G2 are the greatest team we have ever produced in Europe. And they go back to back to back to back and win the summer season.
Another title in the back pockets of G2. You can see the excitement and elation on their faces once again. And it's upsetting because I feel like a 3-0 doesn't do this series justice. It was so close for so much of this series. That third game was the most one-sided we've seen. But Fnatic really did go toe-to-toe with G2 consistently throughout this series. And it was just these small execution errors where they could not quite close the gap, could not quite find those wins, and ultimately they're looking once again at a 3-0 victory for G2.
Can never count them out.
No.
And I know, I said it, you get tired of hearing it. I don't get tired of seeing it. This team, I don't know, man. Since I've been in Europe, I have only ever seen domination from G2. You know, I didn't foresaw Fnatic lift a trophy. I saw it from afar. Like, distantly, I've been told that it's a thing. But as far as I've been here, I'm like, why do you guys keep believing in Fnatic?
Because they're always there as well. Like, as much, like G2 are incredible. They deserve the win today. But Fnatic are always in the conversation as well. And you can see how much it hurt the players. You can see how much Rekkles looked dismayed in that camera. But you have to put them in the conversation because they always end up challenging, battling G2. And that's the reason Europe has become so much greater over the last few years, is that you have these two titans building each other up.
I think that's the primary takeaway, because this iteration of G2 looked so much better than the one that we saw just yesterday against Rogue. It's the fact that when they face each other, you hope, and you often do, get the best from both these teams and heading into
the worst.
It's a G2 game, yes,
yeah,
and the worst.
for sure. And I think that, you know, many can pick apart like some of the things that went wrong, and people are going to sit there and look at these teams and think, you know, coming into Worlds, they're probably not favorites, they're not looking that great. But the reality is that whenever you have a G2 and a Fnatic in any sort of international competition, when you have these players, you just, expectations don't apply to them, right? It was Perkz that took RNG and took them down and made it to the semifinals with a weaker roster than what this was. It was Fnatic that only lost to the eventual world champions, right? Like, they were the one that knocked RNG out of the group stage and made that miracle run happen in week 2. Like, both of these teams are so well known for making miracles happen. And I think you got to see a glimpse of what the ceilings of both these teams are today. So I am extremely excited to see them on the international stage. I think we had a fantastic series. I wish we had more games.
Same.
I really wish we did. But I'm still happy with what we saw. It was a lot of fun to cast these games, and I cannot wait to see what these two have in store moving into Worlds.
Really looking forward to Worlds. It's only 2 weeks away, but something you can get involved in right now is the Key Player of the Series vote at LEC on Twitter. Wunder, Jankos, and Caps are your options.
It's
What are
tough.
we thinking?
I think that it's a difficult one. I think Caps is going to stand out among the minds of many, but I really think Jankos had a phenomenal series. He was like the quiet carry. You know, he wasn't standout, but I think that he did so much in terms of setting up his solo lanes for success. You know, but like it's a tough one for me.
Yeah, I think it's quite a difficult one as well. Because I think Caps, as you say, is obvious, right? He had like 25 stack Medjais in 2 of the 3 games.
No, all 3 of them at some point.
Yeah. He's a beast, right?
Yeah.
But,
What does Wunder have to do to get, like, a shout-out?
Yesterday, he got it yesterday. It's fine. Give him one a split. That's all he gets.
Hey, his Camille, he had like 7 deaths, okay?
Yeah,
like,
actually,
come
no,
on.
he hard
Come on.
He was awful in the game. But yeah, I think like it's always a difficult one. You guys can vote at home. And I hear from producers, we actually have a live feed from the G2 gaming house as they're getting a special delivery. Oh, we can see there the LEC trophy being delivered to G2. It's the second time they've had to accept it from their gaming house, of course, in spring and now in summer. But it is such an honor and a privilege to see them win and to be able to get the trophy to them so quickly.
Does anyone gonna help this guy? Like, you didn't get an elevator, he had to go up the stairs. A trophy's heavy.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly is. But I think G2 are going to have more than enough fun lifting that one once again. We do things in style here in the LEC. I think we also have an engraver on site, so they're also going to get that engraved.
The thing is that we, like, I think it's very cool that we engrave the trophy, but again, that trophy, it's called the LEC trophy.
It's the G2 trophy.
The only names that it has on it is G2.
G2.
Someone will stop them eventually, I promise. One day they will lose.
And it's just so impressive, though. Like, they have been in our league for 5 years, and they have the most titles of any team ever.
They have 4 times as many titles as Fnatic.
Since they joined the league,
And
it's actually incredible.
I mean, the craziest thing about that is the consistent factor has been Perkz. You know, we often talk about him like, while he wasn't the standout in this series today, I think that he's always someone you have to talk about when it comes to one of the greatest European players that we've ever had, one of the most successful for sure. And he, alongside G2, are looking to continue their dominances. They're getting in position, they're getting camera.
You ready?
Wunder's really trying to help them.
Oh, Perkz is now there. There we are. Congratulations, G2. You are a summer champions.
I feel like Caps is the only one really putting his back into this. You know what I mean?
He carried for the rest of it, so someone else has to carry the trophy for him. That's how it works. Perkz, of course. What a difficult year it has been at times for that man. You can see a smile coming onto his face there. The LEC Summer Champions G2 Esports, the only team in Europe ever to win it 4 times in a row. Now the only team to ever win it 4 times in a row twice. because they did it from 2016 to 17 and now from 2019 to 2020. Caps our MVP alongside our champion.
You
for
can't hate
summer.
Caps' face. He's just so happy. He's so pleasant.
Wonder
Wunder's a
there,
giant.
getting ready for his WoW raid later on. And of course, Pinoy, their sub, who played for them when Perkz was away.
Yeah, definitely a valuable honorary member of the team. Grabs naturally being left out, as is tradition.
Are they going to hand it to Grabs? Oh!
It's like, how many drafts did it Grabs in today? Can we start giving him the trophy? But you have to give the guy credit. Like, there's a lot of jokes, a lot of memes about his drafting, but consistently G2 find a way to win with these drafts. And we'll soon get to hear from the G2 players as they just secured their 4th title in a row.
Time for a show. Show 'em how you outplay. Go and check the replay. Dubs like all day. Boy, you better know. Know that it might be just a little hyphy. Trying to call about these watches go. Cause the games are straight fire. Every team fight coming down to the wire. The whole world trying just to look like us. Take a look at your league. Wish you played like us. Now time to shook reality. You're facing a tragedy when the European legacy comes sucking down your pride to be. Those feelings of anxiety. The future you don't want to see. The wrath of our whole dynasty. It spells LEC.
This could be the final chance, our last dance together. This could be the final chance, our last dance. Are you ready? Come on, dance with me, with the LEC. Come on, dance with me, let yourself be free. Come on, dance with me, with the LEC. Come on, dance with me, do that Pepe D.
Talk that good shit. Boy, you better back it up. If you want the up yell, sorry, that's just not enough, cause we got every team fighting lame. Flashbox when they clash, you would never last less than 100. Bring your A game if you wanna claim fame, that'd be your main aim. Now you're in the right lane.
Show up or shut up, no time for excuses. Can't take a series, you're probably just useless. You want a shot at us, you can come get it. If you're just talking, then you can forget it. We're gonna blow up, we're on the rise. Euphoria, this is the vibe. We wear the clown nose and we wear the crown. Kings of the West, you know we hold it down. Like
This could be the final chance, our last dance together. This could be the final chance, our last dance. Are you ready? Come on, dance with me, with the LEC. Come on, dance with me, let yourself be free. Come on, dance with me, with the LEC. Come on, dance with me, do that Pepe D.
We've come a long way since the beginning. The dark days of double streams, vacation memes, now charged up and charging forward. We are the LEC. We can't be stopped, slowed, or suppressed. This tenacity is EU at its best. It's time for the LEC loyals to show their fandom. Put your hands together. This is your anthem.
Come on, dance with me, with the LEC. Come on, dance with me, let yourself be free. Come on, dance with me, with the LEC. Come on, dance with me.
And welcome back to the LEC. G2 Esports are your summer champions once again, and I have Perkz with me to talk about this series. Thank you very much for joining me, and congrats on this title once again, 4 in a row. That's impressive.
Well, thank you for having me. It is pretty nice, yeah. We got the 4 in a row. I'm happy that we won today. Yeah.
I can imagine. I mean, it's strange because when we look at G2, the way you play, you lost against Fnatic last week. Rogue brought you to game 5 yesterday. So tell me about the result today. What did you expect coming in today and your take on the series as it went?
We definitely expected to have easier, maybe not games against Fnatic, but drafts. I think the drafting against Rogue is a bit harder, I would say, and that's why they actually took games of us. I think in the games we won against Rogue, we won like more convincingly, because I still think Fnatic gives more of a resilience in game. But when Rogue has a good draft, they're very good and they have more drafts, I think, ready. So preparing against Fnatic is always, I don't want to like bash them, but kind of easy against them. Like we know what they're gonna play, and yeah, I guess we were just like more willing to give some champions to them than to Rogue.
All right.
So yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, there's been an evolution throughout the series here because the first game was what it was. I don't even know how to call it, but I mean, when you look at the third game, you guys progressed, I feel. So is there anything you understood about Fnatic throughout the series, or what is your take on this?
No, I mean, I think the first game, I think Wunder and Caps were just a bit inting on Silent, if I remember right. So that's why the game was like a bit harder. So I mean, he got really fed on LeBlanc, and Camille was pretty strong in the game. But then like we are kind of first time actually playing this comp like with Chen, so we were getting overexcited and wanted to kill people with Chen ult and Silent the whole time. That's why I think we was a bit messy. We didn't actually practice this comp. We just saw TSM played yesterday, and then we thought it made sense. We should play today as well. And we did, so I'm pretty happy for that. Thank you, TSM. And I think game 2 we had a hard draft to play. I think that draft they were good. They prepared well. They changed up their picks. I think that game could have. Yeah, Zilean top. Yeah, that game could have gone either way. I think our early game was like a bit bad, so they could snowball. But I feel like late game we should be winning with our champs, so that's why I won late game. I think that game was the closest one to lose. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a convincing series regardless from you guys. And I mean, when you look at summer for G2, it hasn't been the easiest journey. I mean, and also for you on a personal level. So what does it mean to finally be back on top of Europe here?
I mean, I'm just very happy that we are bringing it back up, our play, and also the amount of effort we put. I am not necessarily happy that we won, because it's just it's kind of more relieving. Like it's more a relief at this point than like being super happy, which is kind of sad. But I can't do anything about that. But I'm happy with the way we perform and the way we play, and that we talk a lot, and that all feels very good. Pretty happy with my performance as well. So I'm just generally grateful for the fact that we got to come back, and that we were like one game away from just not making playoffs, basically. And that was also against Rogue. So thank you, Rogue, for helping us out, twice this split. But yeah, I mean, I'm just grateful for my teammates, and the club feels good.
You had an amazing split, and I mean, the way you guys managed to bounce back is really amazing to see. And I mean, you won, which means that you also get to avoid Damwon as Seed 1, which is going to be interesting for Worlds. And talking about that, you will have to leave for China shortly, I guess. So any first impression on going to Worlds for another time here, and the teams you expect to face, or players looking forward to facing here?
I guess I feel like all of it is a bit with the whole travel we're gonna have and quarantine, but I'm very excited to play on stage again, like having low of ping. But I realize that what I really love about this job is the travels and the people that come and support us, like so many people, and the energy that gives you. I feel like that's something I'm missing a lot right now. I still have the motivation to play and perform just for the sake of my fans and my teammates.
Yeah.
But that extra rush of playing on stage in front of many people is something I'm missing. So I'm sad that we won't experience that this year. But other than that, I'm very excited to compete again, because Worlds is kind of like the peak of League of Legends, right? You get to play against all the best players in the world, and that's just what feels really rewarding at the end of the year, like actually seeing how good you match against everyone else. So Chinese bootcamp is going to be really fun. Looking forward to solo queue, and I'm just a bit like skeptical of traveling, you know, and all that. But
It's
that it is how it is.
It's a strange setup this year, but I mean, I hope you're gonna have a good run at Worlds to make it right, at least. And before I let you go, is there anything you would like to say to the fans who've been cheering for you, regardless of the troubles you were going through this splits?
Well, like nothing too specific, besides the fact that the G2 army is very very nice towards us. I feel like it's growing every year, and since I've started basically in 2016, I feel like it has grown quite a bit of an army. So I'm very grateful for all of you guys who do watch our games and are happy when we win. And I'm also like a bit sorry for you guys, because our games are very stressful, but it also is very stressful for me in game. Playing AD carry and just like not really know when it's gonna be a flip or not. So I have the same as you guys. Don't worry about it. So we are like living through it together. I can feel you guys, and yeah, keep supporting us. Thank you.
It is a roller coaster all the time, for sure, but we're lucky to have you guys in the league. Thank you very much, Perkz, for the interview, and congrats
Thank you for
once
having me.
again for winning the summer title. And we're gonna take a break then, and we'll come back in a few minutes for PGL with Shox and Jankos. Stay tuned, guys.
Hi guys, I'm Penguin, joined by Ox, and we're shoutcasters for European Masters. This is the tournament that puts the spotlight on the next EU superstars with teams from all across the continent.
LEC players like Selfmade, Nemesis, Crownshot, Maliza all got their breakthrough on this stage.
And you can watch the conclusion with us of the group stage live from the LEC studio from September 9th to 12th on twitch.tv/EU Masters. For the full schedule, visit watch.lolesports.com.
We'll see you on the Rift.